special editions, and I saw each of the three one more time. So what I'm saying is, you're probably going to know more about it than me. So maybe I should ask you the questions.
Mark, when you finished shooting Return of the Jedi, was it your sense that this was the end, that this was the last of the Star Wars movies, or did you think there were going to be more?
Absolutely the last, because we had a beginning, a middle, and an end. I remember when the very first week of shooting was in North Africa, in Tunisia, which the British pronounce Tunisia. But I was talking to George then, and he talked about how originally it was 4 trilogies of 12, which was really puzzling to me. I said, well, why are you starting? And then he said, and we've cobbled it down to 3 trilogies of 9. But I said, well, why are we starting from the middle? Because even then I realized that if these things were to go forward, that the technology would improve, and by the time they got around to going back in time, the special effects would give it away that they were much more technologically advanced than what we were doing. He said, well, this trilogy is the most commercial. I said, oh, okay. But I remember asking him, and I don't even think I believed that the 3rd trilogy would feature us. I thought it would be all different characters. To my knowledge, we were just going to do a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was over. So the feeling on the set when we were doing this was really much like the end of the semester, the last couple of months of school. Yeah, clear out your locker and bring your gym clothes home and all that. So it was mixed feelings, because everyone was anxious to sort of complete the mission of doing the 3, but we knew it was going to be the last time we'd see everybody. And I'm still in a state of shock that they want to do more. No, seriously, I am. And when people ask me questions, first of all, you probably know more about it than I do. George did say, he had lunch, invited us to lunch. We're trying to figure out, well, what's he going to talk about?
It was us, that's you.
It was my wife. My daughter was with us, but they said, oh, Chelsea's going to go have lunch with George's daughter to keep her out of the meeting. It was me and my wife and Carrie Fisher. And we were thinking, well, wait a second, I think he's going to release these in 3D. Maybe he's going to ask us to do publicity or something. We just had no idea. But my wife, I think, said something about, what if he says we're going to do more movies? I said, yeah, right. That wasn't even on the radar for me at all, And I sort of settled into my elderly recluse phase in my career where I'm on 4 animated series, and, I have my dog, a small, modest house out at the beach, and, a pool, and, not having to get out of your pajamas all day long is a successful day.
True that.
And, because you don't understand, it's like, how often do you go back and go through your old high school yearbook? I dare say, rarely. And so that's why I rarely look at these anymore. And, a lot of times you meet parents, and the parents are excited. They're pushing like a 6-year-old towards you who's like terrified. With a look of sort of awe and abject horror on their face. It's like the kid that gets up close to Santa Claus and doesn't want to sit on his lap when they can see the veins in his nose. And because you can't really identify when we did these, because of the fashion or the cars or the hairstyles, a lot of these little kids things we had made them two weeks ago. Not at all. So I say, relax, I'm Luke's grandfather. But
Disappointed in Darth Vader, very, very disappointed.
Well, like I say, it's just so shocking to me that it's had the impact it's had. I mean, I rarely do these kind of events, but I thought, well, whoever would dream that there would be a day on the calendar that's devoted to this.
May the 4th be with you.
So, look, I'm here for you guys tonight. I'm not getting paid food. I'm not getting any of your but I feel like I owe you. I mean, after all these years, we're almost like part of the family. And I think, oh gosh, it is May the 4th. Well, put Svengoolie on the timer. Go into Hollywood. My usual routine of Svengoolie and Saturday Night Live. Have you discovered the MeTV network? It's awesome. It's the only network on television that's showing old black and white shows like Thriller, Twilight Zone, Honey West, Combat, 12 O'Clock High, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I mean, it's my favorite retro channel on TV. Sergeant Bilko, are you kidding me? Car 54, where are you? So, anyway. All right, fine.
I remember interviewing you years ago, and you talked about being a young guy in the first movie, and you really weren't sure what the hell was going on. Like, you had a space ape on one side and a guy in a metal suit on the other. By the time you got to Return of the Jedi, did you feel like, okay, I understand it, or would you show up on the set and be like, what is this?
No. And to be quite honest with you, when I read the first one, I said, if they do this and they're able to capture what they've written on the page, and this is before John Williams' incredibly breathtaking score, it's long before all the special effects went in, it just leapt off the page, and I thought, even if this doesn't do well at the box office, it's got cult hit written all over it. I see just endless midnight screenings with that pungent smell in the air. Because it was a fantasy that had a sense of humor. I mean, the robots I thought were hysterically funny. I understood my role was the straight man, that Luke sort of doesn't get the joke. But the fact that these robots this is all your fault. Come on. Machines arguing over who's going to get blamed. I thought, this is really great. I mean, most science fiction is very antiseptic and dry and pristine. This had a beat up, used, dented, oil-stained feel to it because the art direction was superb. And plus, it was really funny. Really funny. And I thought it was very smart to have a Han Solo character because he was a skeptic, because he was cynical. He represented the kind of resistance we get from a modern day audience to how corny it was. Hey kid, I don't believe the first. And you go, you don't believe the voice? That was so great, come on. Please like the voice, please.
With a Harrison Ford impression.
Well, but what I'm saying is it just was perfect, in terms of covering all its bases. Even the female role. She wasn't a damsel in distress. She's all, you call this a plan? Get that done. I mean, it was really ahead of its time in the sense that it used so many elements from classic movies that we all have ingrained in our DNA. If we like movies, we've seen cowboy movies and pirate movies and World War II movies and all of those elements that the sum is greater than, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It was, a reference to Dam Busters and Hidden Fortress and Red River and all of these classic kind of pictures. And like I said, I remember predicting, because Robert Watts was the production manager, and he said, on the first day I met him, what do you think of this thing? And I said, look, my friend works at the LA Art Museum in the film department. And I said, look up from King Kong, from 1933 or sound era on, the grosses of every fantasy, science fiction, and horror film. And he printed out, we poured over this material. This is just before he was going off to do it in 1976. And I predicted, this thing is going to be bigger than Planet of the Apes. And I meant the Charlton Heston one, not the Tim Burton one. Which hadn't come out, obviously. But I did think at the time, I said, I bet you, because I figured out we have to make 2.5 times what it cost to do the sequel. We were budgeted at 7.5, so that comes out to 15 plus 3.5, so 18.5 million we'd have to make. I said, oh, easy, this thing will make at least 25 million. I'm sure of it. And so I thought we were going to do the second and third one. I remember saying, well, this is a winner. This is totally a winner. I don't see how this could fail. But, I might have been whistling past the graveyard because I've felt that way since, and I'm not always right.
We often hear stories about classic films that the story was almost this, and then it changed. In Return Return of the Jedi, were there any possible paths or outcomes that may have been different from the way the movie actually turned out in the early script phases?
I don't know about the early drafts, because by the time I read it for the first time, I was shocked because I said, oh, I know where this thing is going. I've got one mechanical hand now. I'm all in black. I'm well on my way to the dark side. I thought that was going to be the plot of the third one, that Luke is tempted back and forth. And I thought the great fake out would be to make the audience believe that I went awry. And at the last possible moment, save either Carrie or Harrison from death, and that would be the twist. I didn't know that was going to be the plot of the prequels. So I was really disappointed when I read this. I went, oh, darn it, and really, come on, a second Death Star, really? But to be fair now, to be completely fair, if George had known he was going to do 3 movies, he probably would have saved the Death Star's destruction as the climax of the third picture. But remember now, we couldn't be sure that we'd be able to make 2 and 3, or whatever the numbers are. You guys have to help me out. From my perspective, because really the prequels are a standalone beginning, a middle, and an end that takes place before I was born, so I'm not required to know anything about them. Have to loop it, which is dubbing it in after the fact. That's just even more, another layer of difficulty to make it sound natural. But my point is that within 2 days of filming that scene, because you have these background artists playing stormtroopers and whatnot, just people milling about, people that are only doing day player jobs or whatever. Within 2 days, on the front page of the Sun, one of Rupert Murdoch's more notorious tabloids, on the front page, in a little, not headlines by any means, but in a little box it said, Guinness head baddie in Star Wars 2. So it leaked. I mean, we might have filmed that scene on a Tuesday. By Thursday, it was in the newspapers. Now, I had great satisfaction knowing that they'd leaked misinformation. And when you think about it, if that had been the twist, if it turned out that Guinness was the villain, that still would have been a great twist. But it gave me great satisfaction to keep that secret as long as I did. Because, I mean, I didn't tell anybody. At the screening, Harrison turned around. I'm not going to do them again because I'll get in trouble. But he didn't know. And I love surprises. I really love to keep surprises. But in this day and age, forget about it. It's impossible to keep a secret. They asked me to be a part of the 2-hour season finale of Criminal Minds. And I read the script, and it was a really interesting part, and I thought, oh, this is great. And I said, it'll be fun is to keep it a secret, because they're building up this character, you don't know who it is, and there's a reveal at the end of the first hour, and then, the second hour is about me. Within 12 hours of saying okay, it was on tvguide.com. And I went to the producers, I said, it wasn't me. I told my daughter, don't tweet it, my sons don't email or tell anybody. Well, CBS leaked it. So I don't know about you, I had 4 sisters, and my 2 older sisters were constantly saying, you're getting an extra sketch for your birthday. And you go, don't tell me. They'd go into my parents' closet.
They leaked it.
Yeah, they would leak
your sisters.
No, and they go through, they go through the all the usual hiding places and tell you what you're going to get for your birthday or for Christmas. And I don't like that. I like surprises. So, really, this seems like a really lame attempt to top the Vader thing, you know what I'm saying? Why not have Boba Fett remove his helmet, shake out some beautiful hair, and oh my God, it's Mom! She's been a double agent all these years. Because I remember shooting those scenes, on Tatooine, the first 10 days we were out in the desert, and I'm thinking, ooh, there's blue milk for a prop. I'm going to drink some of it just because if it's there and it's blue milk, why wouldn't you? Oh, it was revolting. It was hard not to gag visibly when I sipped it, but I can remember asking George all these questions. Why am I living with my aunt and uncle? Where's Dad? Where's my mom and all that? As it turned out, I realized later, he was really good at just making up complete lies to satisfy an annoying actor. You know what I mean? Because I listen to these stories and I go, oh, that's really okay. Because he said, oh yeah, your father was having a lightsaber duel with Vader on the edge of a volcano, and Vader knocked your father in. I said, ooh, I hate him even more now. But again, that was all made up.
What did he tell you about the mom?
I'm trying to remember if I brought that up or if he even sort of just skirted the issue. I don't remember a specific answer to that.
He went into the volcano too.
Who knows? But I do remember reading, again, when I'm reading this one, I said, they dispatched Boba Fett just like that? That doesn't seem right. I mean, they built him up, and he's so awesome, and that great costume, and Jeremy Bulloch did such a great job, It just seemed, really? They just flip a switch on his backpack, and he gets...
It sounded like a chump.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was a missed opportunity. Now, like I say, you guys probably know more about these movies than I do because you just watch them and remember all the details. But I do remember, now, this was the only one, aside from a little pickup shots in Death Valley for the first film. The first film locations were in North Africa. The second film, and then we did the sound stages mostly in England and the special effects here. Then on the second picture, we were in Finse, Norway for the ice planet. And Dagobah, the Yoda's planet, was all on a soundstage, which I thought was really great in the sense that it had that feel of the original King Kong. It had real depth and layers when they lay the smoke in. And like one of the things, I've only had one creative meeting about the new films, but I do remember saying, we've got to find a proper balance between CGI and old school models, miniatures, and that kind of stuff. See, I really love hearing your response because, as far as I'm concerned, I would be more interested in hearing what you guys want to see in the new movies. That's what the challenge is to try and meet the expectations of what you guys want. And I think there's nothing wrong with CGI, but I think you have to have a balance because the camera perceives the width and the depth and the weight, even if it's a miniature model, the camera just realizes that. And so when you have too much CGI, if the clouds are CGI and the trees are CGI and the buildings are CGI, you're getting to a point where the figure in the shot is like, is a hybrid of an animated film and with live action, And I want to have a more organic look so that we don't, get into Roger Rabbit territory. But that's